Of course not. That's completely stupid. They tend to gasp a lot and find this like, Let's talk about how to pass RBS's video interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English, helping you pass the interview for world famous companies. Today we're going to be talking about RBS. If you love the Pass the Interview series and want to know more when new videos come out, be sure to click that subscribe button, press like on this video and drop a comment down below and let us know what other videos you'd like us to do. RBS, or Royal Bank of Scotland, is probably one of the most famous British banks out there alongside Lloyds and NatWest, and is synonymous with British banking. It's also one of the oldest British banks and is now part of the NatWest group. So before we jump into the process, let's talk about 3 fast facts about RBS. RBS can trace its roots all the way back to the failed Company of Scotland in 1707, which means it dates back over 300 years. Most impressive. On the 31st of May 1728, RBS invented the overdraft. This actually happened when a merchant named William Hogg asked RBS whether he would be able to draw down credit on an account which had no money in, because he was expecting payments from customers. RBS also became the first bank to invent credit notes or credit loans, which made it a real trailblazer in its time, because of course banking in those days was predominantly based upon trust, no such thing as Equifax. In 2019, RBS's core business was ring-fenced by the UK government. This was as a follow-on from the fallout from the credit crunch in 2008-2009, and RBS became part of the NatWest group. Okay, let's talk about RBS's video interview process. So you can expect 5 questions and you have 2 minutes to answer each question. We're going to deal with 10 questions that we identified are reasonably likely for you to be asked. Just as an aside, sometimes we get comments from people saying, will these precise questions be asked? Can you guarantee that we will be asked these questions? Of course not. That's completely stupid.
Go crazy. Go stupid. Go crazy. Yeah.
We can't guarantee that at all. The purpose of these videos is to give you an idea of the types of questions you'll be asked and how you would answer them. But as ever, it's your interview and it's your responsibility to go and do your homework about the company. The Job Ready English channel is absolutely jam-packed with videos about how to prepare for interviews, how to find out what questions to be asked. And if you're unsure and you want an even more in-depth video series, jump down into the description below where you can download the 28 most common interview questions, motivational and competency, and you can even go and check out our free Skillshare course called the Pass the Interview Masterclass, which is free and lasts for almost 2 hours and tells you how to pass any interview. I highly recommend that you take this course. So let's jump into these questions that we'd have to answer in 2 minutes. Just quickly, how many words should you prepare if you're going to have to answer for 2 minutes? I would say it's somewhere in the region of between 200 to 300 words. Generally, people will speak at about 125 to 150 words per minute. I tend to find that when someone speaks slightly faster than 150 words per minute, they tend to gasp a lot and find this like,
After amazing night.
breathing in a little bit sharply, or they very easily get upended and they can lose their train of thought. So if you find that you're gasping, easily losing your train of thought, then maybe you just need to slow down. A top tip that I always say to clients when they work with me is generally they just need to slow it down a little bit. When people get anxious, they tend to speed up and talk faster, and that's something that will go in the course of time as you practice and repeat your answers. Question number 1, why do you want to work for RBS? Standard question, you're going to get this almost every single time. A company is going to say to you, why me? Why not Lloyds? Why not NatWest? And you're going to need to provide a compelling answer. So you can do this by picking out 3 to 5 key facts about the company do your homework. One thing that I find is really good about researching for banks is there's so much information out there. Whether you go to Bloomberg, Reuters, look at their quarterly report, look at their annual report. I find annual reports to be the most useful, or any type of presentations that are being made to the media or to the general public. When you're looking through annual reports, I really tend to only concentrate on key financials and the chairman, managing partner, managing director or CEO statement. Why? Because they're going to really present all the best information in 1 or 2 pages. That's the thing that they're selling to the stakeholders, shareholders, to let them know that they've done a good job. I also like reports and summaries that are given to the general media, because again, this is a compilation of all the best facts, figures and information about that company. Put those 5 facts together in an answer and you should have 2 minutes. Running a bit long, cut a fact off. Running short, put a fact on. And just as a side note, just because you have 2 minutes to speak doesn't mean you need to speak for 2 minutes. We always want to look at quality over quantity. Question 2, why do you want to apply for this role? So this is a 2-part answer to this question, and very often candidates will miss out the first part of this answer. The second part that candidates always tend to cover is to say, I would be good at this role because I had X experience and I have Y skills. Cool. What most people tend to miss is what are you going to do? It's really quite important. If I've asked you to make burgers, the first thing I want you to say is, well, I have to be in the kitchen at 6 a.m. I know that I need to clean down the equipment, I need to prepare the patties, and so on and so forth, right? So it's a 2-part answer. What would I do and why am I good at it? And there's a similar extension to this was question 3, what skills do you think that you will bring to the role? Again, a relatively easy question to answer if you make sure that you read the job description. Now, you may find that you get a job description which isn't particularly helpful. For example, recently we were helping some clients with one of the investment banks, and their job description was basically non-existent. Essentially all it was about why you should work for this particular investment bank. So my advice in that case is to take the name of the role, Google it and look for similar job descriptions, because the chances are what you're going to do is going to be the same. And within those job descriptions, they will generally say, I would like you to have these skills. They might even say, oh, these skills would be nice to have. If you had this, then it would be a bonus. So you can identify a couple of those skills. You can reinforce them with your experience and what you've already done, whether they be technical or soft skills like teamwork, communication, resolving conflict, and then you can answer that compellingly, because essentially you're saying, oh, here's your job description. Oh, I just so happen to have those skills. Isn't that cool? Right? Question 4, tell me about a time when you had to come up with an innovative solution. So this is a competency-based question. Something that we really saw with RBS is they placed a lot of emphasis on client relationships and customer service. That was where quite a few of their competency questions were driving towards. So when talking about an innovative solution, so it's just thinking outside the box, being creative. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It could just simply be our team had to come up with an analysis for a stock for our finance module. So they wanted to use source A, and I actually thought it would be good to use source B. It's just bringing new ideas, new information into the project, whatever it is that you're doing. It could just be, I can remember an example from a client that I work with. He was working in Starbucks, and they had a particular way at the end of cleaning and breaking down everything, putting all the chairs away. And he thought of a new timing to do that, a new allocation of staff. That was a really good way to innovate. And also your innovation should show a result. So it's one thing innovating, but hopefully we've improved the process, we have got a better result, we have delivered more happiness to a person, greater value, whatever it is that may be. And that's the way to kind of think about an innovative solution. Question 5, tell me about yourself. The classic. So hopefully up you will see a link which will come up which takes you directly to the video where I talk to you all about how to answer probably the most popular question that candidates are always worrying about. Tell me about yourself, and it also has a free worksheet and template that you can download. This is a personal introduction, so where are you and what are you doing now? What have you been doing in the last 3 to 5 years? Probably, say for example, if you're a master's student, then you're going to talk about your bachelor's. If you're a bachelor student, you're going to talk about your A-levels. If you're a professional, then you're going to talk about your last 3 to 5 years of work experience. What do you want to do and why? Work experience, extracurricular activities, skills and interests. Now, something that came up, I actually had a client ask me the other day, saying, well, it's just rude. I mean, you've asked me to come to an interview and you can't even be bothered to read my CV. So let's zoom out of this a little bit. Imagine it from the point of view of the person who's interviewing you. Either they've just had 5 other interviews and they're brain dead, or they're having to fit you in amongst all the other stuff that they're doing. So very often when somebody rocks up to an interview to interview a candidate, they probably don't know anything about you apart from maybe your name. So the first question that's going to come to mind is they're going to say, tell me about yourself, walk me through your CV, what's your experience? Because you're literally giving them the opportunity to learn about you. So I really suggest that you don't feel indignant or like you're not being treated like an important human being. Just get over yourself, because actually you're just part of one thing that that person has to do in that day. And the easier you can make that person's life, the better it's going to be for you, right? Question 6, tell me about a time when you disagreed with a colleague. Now, disagreements are common in the workplace. There are going to be differences of opinion. There are a few things that I think are really important about answering this question. Number one, it's not about having a blazing row with someone because you disagree over politics. It's got to be based around some sort of work issue and how to deal with it. We should really bring that back to the facts, the data, the client, and their needs. Number 3, we really want to be thinking about, dealing with that one-to-one, or having like a screaming match and throwing boiling hot coffee at someone over a meeting table. And the 4th thing as well is just saying, well, I was okay with being wrong if you were, or I was okay with going out and asking for more information, and also fact checking my own thinking. Sometimes I can see candidates and clients really get stuck into groupthink, or like I'm right, you're wrong mentality, and it's important for me to maintain my position, and that can be a very dangerous thing to do. For example, I can think of a great answer to this question which was given to me by a client some months ago, where she had an elderly gentleman come into the bank that she was working at, and the gentleman in question, he wanted to withdraw a large amount of cash because he was going on holiday with his family. What he didn't understand is, when you take out large amounts of cash, generally you need to give the bank a couple of days notice, because they may not have that cash to hand, or that cash may be allocated for other purposes. When he was told by the cashier that he was unable to take out the money and he'd have to come back, he became very upset. The young lady in question tried to speak to the cashier, see if it could be resolved. She disagreed simply for the fact that this is basically your granddad, right? Your granddad walks into a bank and he goes like, give me £3,000, £3,000. They're like, oh no, sorry, we can only do that in 3 days. Your granddad goes coconuts. So he's going, what do you mean I've got to wait 3 days? It's my money, give me my money now. Because he doesn't understand the everything else that ripples out from that, or the certain amount of cash that a bank may have at any given time, like a local high street bank. And what she did was, she made some calls, she connected with another bank, she asked the cashier if she could try and resolve the problem and take him off to a private room. And in the end, they managed to give him the money, and he was really pleased, because genuinely he hadn't come there to cause a disagreement, cause a fuss. He just kind of thought, well, going on holiday Friday, gonna go to the bank Thursday and get out the cash. He fixed the problem and resolved the disagreement. Question 7, where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? Classic question, really simple. Still here. Often I'll hear answers like, well, I would have started my own business. Well, I would like to have moved somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. Just think about it, right? Imagine you start dating someone and they're like, oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And they turn around and look at you and go, well, hopefully with someone better than you. You're like, yeah, I don't think this is going to work out. Yeah. So even though you may not, the truth is you probably don't know. right? I certainly don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years. I mean, I have my dreams, aspirations and goals, but also it's going to be in line with the people who are lining up with me in terms of our team. I'm not going to turn around and say, well, actually in 5 years, I'd be in a different country doing something else. What you want to say is, hopefully I'd still be here, I'd be managing a team, I'd be overseeing projects, whatever that is. Whether that be the truth or not, the point is that big employers want to take you on for the long term. They want to try and find people who have the potential to be leaders and grow in the business. So deliver on that and say to them that you're going to do that, and then wait and see, who knows. Question 8, tell me a time when you delivered great customer service. This is a regular question that comes up across a lot of different companies, particularly those who are client focused. I think recently we did a video for Past the Interview for Amazon, and we talked about customer success really being at the center of a lot of what they do. So it's helpful to think about, number one, what is great customer service? For me, that's quite simple because it's something that we try to live as a principle in our business, which is to go above and beyond what is required. Not just to provide something that's okay or even good, but to provide something that is truly valuable and helpful to somebody else. And I want people always to leave, whether it be one of our services, you watching this video, whatever it is across the range of our business, I want someone to be so infused by that they think, number one, that was super useful. Number two, when someone asks me about that thing, I'm going to tell them about Job Ready English. I'm going to tell them about Mike. So great customer service is really just going above and beyond the expectation. Whether that be delivering on a promise, whether that be just listening to a client who's angry, or de-escalating the situation. Question 9, what are your strengths and weaknesses? So this is a big question. Let's sort of split this up into 2 strengths, then weaknesses. For the strengths, if you had 2 minutes, I'd pick 2 strengths. If you could really double down, then maybe you pick 1 strength and you pick it out of the skills list that the company have listed out in their job description. Yeah. So very often someone will go like, my greatest strength is I am an independent thinker. And I was like, oh wait, did they ask for an independent thinker? And they're like, oh no, but it's my biggest strength. And then I'm thinking, well, they didn't ask for that, so I don't understand why you're telling me that you're an independent thinker. They're asking for a team player. So pick that out, and if you can, just demonstrate it. Just say, I can demonstrate the skill here. It doesn't have to quite be the full STAR format, situation, task, action, result, but at least you would provide some element of proof to the assertion, the opinion that you are providing. Biggest weakness, so again, hopefully up, I don't know why I do that, point at the ceiling, but up there should be an answer to the question, my biggest weakness. You can go there and look at that video in full. The short answer is pick a weakness that is true, that is fixable, and that you are moving to overcome. I have a fear of public speaking, so I joined Toastmasters. I struggle with attention to detail, so I write my budget down in an Excel sheet, and so on and so forth. The point of a weakness, personally for me, is that it should be honest and fixable. Weaknesses that I don't particularly like is like, I work too hard, I struggle to say no, I'm a people pleaser, all that kind of stuff. Number one, it's a bit like, ugh. And number two, is so generic, and if it's generic and everyone's saying it, then you're gonna really struggle to differentiate yourself from the crowd. Better to be honest and inject a little bit of humility and humanity into your story, and I think you're really going to find you're going to get a different result. And finally, question 10, describe a time when you displayed good teamwork skills. So answering any question about teamwork, number one, it's super common. Number two, it's fine to think about as much as possible, we really want this to come from work, but if you have no work experience, maybe a society, maybe something that you did with your class, in your studies, that would be good. Just not a personal example, and just think about in your example including, number one, most importantly, what you did. Don't obsess about what everyone else has done, and the skills that are required for good teamwork. Communication, listening, resolving conflict, planning, organisation, time management, being deadline orientated, and so on and so forth. So if you struggled with any of those questions, or you really want a bit of a deep dive into how to really get good at interviews, feel free to check out our store down below, courses.jobreadyenglish.com. There's lots of great courses on there where I go into immense detail about how to answer questions, providing scripts for you to write out your interview questions. I've provided stuff that I think is really valuable, really helpful, and also really cost effective for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and also drop a comment down below. Let me know how I did, if you've done the interview, and what interview that you would like us to cover next. Bye.